Today we have a classic showdown between AMD and Intel, but with a twist. I don't even know what CPUs we're running. In 2022, coming across PC hardware is actually a bit of a challenge. With the chip shortage, people are basically buying up anything they can get their hands on. This leaves tech YouTubers in a bit of an awkward spot because we still need to create content, but we can't get our hands on anything to test. Recently though, I found a bit of a gold mine. Not too far from my house, there's an e-scrap facility that I have been frequenting. They're kind enough to let me rummage through their parts and pick out whatever I want to purchase. And it often comes at a really good price. What's even better, it's usually really oddball stuff. Anything from a $10 Z270 motherboard to HD 5870s for $20, or an entire bucket of CPUs. Oh my gosh, there's so many freaking CPUs. Now, being from an e-waste recycler, there are actually no guarantees that the parts work. Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. I have definitely gotten my fair share of bad motherboards and graphics cards, but in the end, it usually works out in my favor. That's where today's video comes in. I was able to purchase two motherboards, both of them pre-populated with CPUs. Both are Asus motherboards, and one of them is an LGA 775, while the other is an AM2 Plus. Now, since these motherboards already had the CPUs installed with the heat sinks on them, I have no idea what CPUs are in them, and I have actually been putting off removing the heatsinks for this video. Now, I thought this was a lot of fun because the potential for the CPUs inside of these motherboards is such a wide range that we really don't have a good way to predict. On the Intel side, we could have anything as low as a Pentium 4 ranging all the way up to a Core 2 Quad Extreme. Now, there's a couple clues that might lead us down a certain path. The heatsink itself isn't that bulky, making me think it's probably not a really high-end CPU. It's also not a top-of-the-line motherboard, so I have my doubts that it's actually housing something extraordinary. So if I had to guess, I'm gonna say we're probably somewhere in the Core 2 Duo range. But without testing, there's no real way to know. Up next, we have our AMD motherboard. Now, this is on the AM2 Plus socket. Now, if you don't know anything about this socket, it's actually quite unique, and I could go on to a whole rant about it. But basically, it supports CPUs all the way from the Athlon 64X2 days up to the Phenom 2 series. Meaning we could have something as low as like a 1.6 gigahertz Athlon 64, or all the way up to a 6-core, or okay, probably more realistic, a quad-core Phenom 2. But considering it is an AM2 Plus motherboard, that socket was released alongside the original Phenom series, which, if you thought the FX days were dark for AMD, go look at the history of the original Phenom. It was quite dire. Now, according to the eScrap place, the AMD motherboard does post. However, I haven't tested it. When it comes to the 775 motherboard, they have no idea, and neither do I. So, worst case scenario, we can pull these CPUs out of the motherboard, stick them in other ones to see how they compete. Now, to pit them up against each other, we aren't going to be doing a whole slew of benchmarks. We're just going to be running Cinebench R15. And chances are, once we see what these CPUs actually are, you guys will already have an understanding of their relative performance if you are familiar with older hardware. Now, to help out, we obviously need our DDR2, and I'm going to be using a postcode reader in order to see if we have any postcode errors, if we can resolve them. So I have my test bench set up, and without further ado, let's get started on the AMD platform. Everything is hooked up, correct? All right. Postcode cycling. Maybe I should have... Oh, there we are! Yes! Yes! I'm not looking. I'm just going to let it boot. I don't want to know what CPU is in it. I want to wait till we can get to CPU Z. Is it? Ah, shoot. Okay, so we're going to have to go into the BIOS because it's probably set up for IDE and we need to switch it to AHCI or whatever that's going to be. But we did post. That's a good start. Okay, enter. Oh, I already saw it. I know it's a Phenom. I don't know what beyond that, but I saw it's a Phenom. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Okay, boot. Boot settings. Okay. Let me try a different SATA port. Let's try powering down and trying a different SATA port. Why did I not try that SATA port to begin with? All right. Closing my eyes. Don't want to know. I already know it's a Phenom. All right. How long is long enough? Maybe. Hey, we're getting into Windows. Okay. Plug it into the right SATA port. That might help. Come on, Windows. Windows, please start Windows. You can do it. I believe in you. Check later. Okay. We're in Windows. Okay, just show me what dang CPU we have. Here we go. Here we go. What? Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, no! We got a 940? A Phenom 2 X4 940. What? Oh! Oh, okay. I have to explain to you guys why this is such a big deal. So let me explain to you why the 940 is so cool. It is the fastest AMD CPU that supports a maximum of DDR2. Now the Phenom 2 lineup all supports DDR2, but the 940 and the 920 were the only Phenom 2 CPUs that only support DDR2. All the other ones support DDR3 as well. So that makes you think that the other ones are kind of cooler. But for certain overclocking competitions, you're limited to CPUs that support a maximum of DDR2 and not DDR3. And I actually have a 940, but it had tons of bent pins, and actually it's missing a couple pins. And it does actually work, but it only has one memory channel that is functional. So I now have another 940 that actually works, that I can overclock. Before we get too crazy, let's just run Cinebench, because that's what we were going to do. I couldn't have realistically hoped for a better CPU. We don't have our native... Maybe we can get a slightly better resolution. Let's check this out. Screen resolution. Nope. Never mind. Okay. All right, let's run Cinebench. Guys, this is so cool. I don't even care. I don't care what's in the Intel motherboard. I really don't. Like, the chances of it being anything more exciting than the Phenom 2X4 940 is just non-existent. It's non-existent. I really thought this was going to be a quad-core original Phenom, and those things are complete garbage. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say. So we got, okay, the score is in, and it is 335, which is actually better than I was even expecting for this CPU. I'm beyond stoked. We're gonna do the Intel, but this is beyond all of my expectations. Let's get the Intel system set up. Alright, and without further ado, let's start the PC. Okay, fan spinning, postcode readers, fan spinning a lot, very loud. Okay, closing my eyes. I saw the light from the monitor turn on. I'm getting a 7F7E postcode, and it's stuck there. Okay, oh, F1. Holding my face, I still don't know what it is. Let's get into Windows, please. Yes, yes! We are booting. Okay, I'm expecting a Core 2 Duo, which means the tables have been flipped. I really expected this Intel CPU to beat out whatever was in that AMD motherboard, and there's a good chance this one's just gonna spank it. What happened? Oh shoot, oh shoot. Okay, we're gonna try to get into the BIOS because I'm guessing we have something to do with boot device thingy. Am I in BIOS? Okay, I'm in BIOS. Working on the Intel platform turned out to be a bit of a pain. It refused to boot into Windows. I tried several different SSDs with no success. I tried swapping about the RAM. I also tried changing the SATA ports and several settings in the BIOS, but I had absolutely no success and eventually had to throw in the towel on trying to get a Cinebench run on our mystery CPU on the Intel platform. Not holding my breath. Okay. All right, well, I am left with no choice. We are going to be pulling the heatsink off to see what we have. If it's a Core 2 quad, I'm gonna stick this CPU in another motherboard and run Cinebench. If it isn't, then there's really no point because it is actually gonna take a Core 2 quad or a very highly clocked Core 2 Duo to be able to beat the Phenom 2. Which actually in Cinebench multi-core, it won't win. It might win in single core, but multi-core, it would definitely have to be a quad core in order to beat it. So let's grab the screwdriver and try to get this bad boy out. It actually looks like half decent. That's decent thermal paste. That's good to know. All right, let's see what we have here. Okay, now I got to get my glasses. Oh my gosh, it's okay. All right, so upon inspection, we're really not missing out on much. This is a Pentium dual core. It is an E2220 dual core CPU. There is no way on earth this would have competed with our Phenom 2 940. So what, you know what? I'm not even gonna bother putting it in to a motherboard that supports this. In fact, I don't know, but there's a chance that the reason it wouldn't boot into Windows is this might be a 32-bit CPU only, which would definitely explain our problem. Yeah, this thing's kind of garbage. But I got a 940! Oh my gosh! Okay, so what do we get out of a video like this? Well, a little bit of suspense, a little bit of disappointment, but it does go to show you that sometimes you can win some and sometimes you lose some when you head to the e-scrap place and pick up other people's garbage. One man's trash is another man's treasure, and my goodness did I get a treasure. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, follow us on our social media platforms, and check out our Discord. It's actually gotten pretty active. And check out our website if you're interested in picking up some tech tested merch. Also, we're probably going to be starting a podcast soon on extreme overclocking, so stay tuned if you want to find out any news on that. And I got a 940. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. It's so good.